Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to HR Week 2021, day number 3. So Monday we started the week in beautiful style with the strategic HR. Then we moved over to Tuesday, which was all about the world of people-centric HR. And today we can call today Digital Day, because today is all about those merging technologies, HR technologies that are helping us in the industry move forward and really shape the future of work connected with HR. So I'm intrigued as much as you are really to hear our speakers, our keynotes, our insights, our debates, those conversations that will spark a debate and move forward and really help us by the end of the day maybe make sense of where we're at and where we're moving to, and also navigate a path forward as well. So remember, again, so much to do, so much to see today. Again, we don't expect you to be with us every single minute of the day. Pop in, pop out to what's relevant for you and your company as well. Remember, there's a calendar option, so you can pop in there all the things, all the great juicy ideas, the keynotes, the sessions that are relevant for you. Pop them in there so you don't forget, and they're there for you, not just today, but throughout the week as well. Remember, we have our HR networking sessions as well, a chance for you to give your opinion, your perspective, and get involved with the conversation as well. Remember, all our speakers, experts sharing their knowledge. We kind of want you to do the same as well, because this is an HR community that we're proud we've built so far, and certainly building even stronger in the future as well. So we move on now to our very first session of the morning, kicking off this digital HR day of the third day of HR Week 2021. So the decisions we make are based on what? Based on our emotions, and our emotions naturally they dictate those decisions at home in our personal lives, and naturally decisions at work as well. But you'll agree with me, certainly after what you hear next in our first session, that monitoring those emotions and understanding what they mean are very important indeed, helping us with our productivity, but also with our overall mental health. Again, very intriguing for me, very intriguing for you as well. I'm going to now introduce or invite to our warm virtual studio right now, the man who's going to do that for us right now, Chief Vision Officer at Wellbeing.ai, Mr. Nikolaos Dimitriadis. Nikolaos, I can see you.
Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I can see you. I can hear you. I'm just wondering where you are right now. It kind of looks like a deep basement, an AI basement with lots of, almost like we're in the Matrix. And in fact, our format looks kind of like the Matrix as well. We're not in the Matrix, are we?
Not yet, but give us a few years and maybe we'll get there.
Okay, listen, I'm going to hand it over to you now. Remember, towards the end of the session, just before you wrap up, I'll pop back in if we have any questions, hopefully questions or comments, or maybe people want to challenge you perhaps on some of the things you're sharing as well. I'll come back in, ask you a few questions, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, Nikolaos, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you very much for having us, for having Wellbeing.ai in this amazing event. So I'm Dr. Nikolaos Dimitriadis, and I am the co-founder and Chief Vision Officer of this amazing, and I hope you will also find it fascinating project. I don't have much time. I will immediately jump into the slides I prepared for you and some examples as well to show you. So I hope you can see my screen now. So I'm here to talk about the wonderful new world of well-being and artificial intelligence. Of course, you can visit our website, wellbeing.ai, and find much more. So what is this fascinating project and platform about? Well, I have here a very recent statement by the CEO of Microsoft, Nadella. Mr. Nadella, he said actually now in September 2021, extremely recent, he said, caring is the new currency in hybrid working. And this is a fascinating example of CEOs, top management from companies, recognizing that new realities brought new problems, or maybe just highlighted and boosted old problems, and we need new solutions. The solutions need to follow a vision, and the vision is that now companies need to be responsible about the well-being of their people, of their employees. And as I talk about these new realities, we have all experienced it in a way or another, in some degree. The latest pandemic has forced all of us, and many of us, even after the pandemic, although we are not still out of the pandemic, okay, the pandemic seems to drag longer than we thought. And the new reality is this hybrid working, where more and more people will either choose or forced by the company to share their working time between being at a physical office or being in another remote location, their home or any other location. And the problems that these new realities brought, also we have experienced, many of us personal about that. So we all have heard and maybe even felt what is called now Zoom fatigue, but it's not only Zoom fatigue. The fact that we sit in front of a laptop at our home or another location all day brought new issues and new interactions and new mental and emotional situations where companies and managers need to understand better, make sure they measure accurately, and of course, and the most important, that they intervene to help and empower their employees do better. Okay, so this is the realities we live in. Of course, the pandemic did not invent these problems. Many of these problems existed before, and I will just mention that just before the pandemic, if I remember correctly, it was 2008 and 2018 and 19, the World Health Organization finally officially recognized mental and emotional health issues as very important phenomena in working environments. So things like anxiety, burnout, and depression are now officially cataloged as important symptoms of emotional and mental states that employees experience and face during their work throughout the world globally. So these things existed before, but the pandemic seems to act as a booster that took these situations, these phenomena in new high levels. So what is the problem? And that's actually a very recent study, a very recent number, that in Europe and USA, companies suffer around 300 billion euros in losses when it comes to poor well-being at work. So dealing with the mental and health state of your employees is not a luxury. It's not something that it is good to have. It's actually very damaging for your company's P&L at the end of the day, and managers need to seriously take care about it. And it's even worse because, again, a study from 2021, studies constantly show, and it is so interesting and so disturbing at the same time, is that although employees experience these negative realities, as I said, burnout, anxiety, even depression at work, that employers are not aware of this fact. So, for example, this study showed that 41% of workers could quit within this year, but their business unit leaders, actually the immediate managers, were not aware. The numbers they were reporting were not near this number. So it seems that we have an emotional and mental reality with employees and a completely different reality in management and leadership teams. There is a gap between reality and perception of reality. And that's not the only study. As I mentioned, there are many studies about this. A great study that happened in 4 countries, US, UK, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates, showed that 80% of workers are actually rating the support of the company to their stress as poor or just adequate. So not only employees experience poor emotional and mental health, but they understand their companies, their employers' reaction to that as poor, and in the best case scenario, adequate. As you see here, only 20% of workers ranked well-being programs are good. So even when companies, and that's very interesting as well, even when companies deploy well-being programs, recognize the problem and create specific interventions, only 1 out of 5 employees believe that these interventions are actually good. So we are missing something. And again, in the last point, you see this gap. Up to 76% of HR directors rated these well-being programs as very good. So you see the difference, you see the discrepancy. Only 20% of employees think that it's a good program, up to 76 HR directors. So HR directors create programs that they love, but these programs not necessarily do the trick for employees. So as you see here, not only we have a problem that existed, but it has been much boosted because of the pandemic and the hybrid working, but the way that we respond to this problem, even when we recognize it, many times we don't recognize, but even when we recognize it, the response is not the one that is really addressing the core of the problem. What can we do about it? Here, just a statement from the Deloitte Insights Tech 2020 report. There was a specific part in this report that said that, listen, brain-computer interfaces improve wellness and performance by tracking emotions. And this is our solution to the problem, our solution to the new realities. We have now the possibility, tech-wise, science-wise, methodology-wise, to use the natural way that people work every day on the workstation and utilize the various possibilities that your laptop is providing in order to trace your mental and emotional health naturally, real time, while you work. How can we do this? We can do this because in science, there is an abundance of academic studies, of scientific studies that show that, for example, the way that your eyes are scanning the screen when, for example, you read the report, the patterns of this eye movement, if captured correctly, they can tell us things about your emotional and mental state. I have actually examples to show you in a few minutes. So, for example, this study, depression affects visual perception. This means that by studying your visual attention patterns while you work, we can deduct the level of depression that somebody has. And it's not only about depression, but all the other mental states that I mentioned. So what is our solution? The solution that Wellbeing.ai brings is actually very simple. It is a platform, it's an online platform that captures your emotions at work, while you work, real time, and we use this real-time data to calculate a scientifically robust well-being score, to give you this well-being score, to give you all the benchmarks and analytics through time about your well-being score, as well as ways to improve the well-being score or maintain it if it is a very good one. How do we do this? Okay, so this is the heart of the program. This is in one slide what this Wellbeing.ai fascinating project is about. So you see in the very center is the AI machine. On the left side is the inputs to the machine. What are the inputs to the machine? It's your emotional signals that we collect through your laptop sensors. You don't have to wear an electroencephalogram. We don't have to put you into an fMRI machine. But naturally, while you work, we collect your eye movement, your facial micro expressions, your voice when you talk to colleagues through the microphone, and we collect all this to identify patterns, as I showed you with the study before, that can tell us if somebody goes through depression, burnout, and anxiety. It's not the only data we collect. We also collect other periodical data. We give you the possibility to input into the system life events. You know, was your kid, for example, this week sick? Because if your kid was sick, of course, this will influence your well-being scores. Did you just come back from holidays? Did you get a promotion? How did you sleep last night? What kind of exercising patterns? So the AI machine gets some emotional signals from your body, as well as some important data that you give us throughout your working time, in order then, based on the methodologies and algorithms we have, to calculate the well-being score and empower you to improve. Now, we have two types of outcomes. The one outcomes comes to you directly as the user and the total owner of your data. So you have an app and you trace your well-being score over weeks, months, or years. So you can see what's happening, when it's happening, and what you should do about it. So this is your personal data, and the company receives only aggregated data, not personal data. Okay, so the company receives the data that you allow the company to receive. Then with this aggregated data in a level of departments or business units or sites, the site, for example, in Belgrade versus the site in Ljubljana or Zagreb, getting these aggregated reports, the management can identify total problems and intervene. So what are we trying to do? We try to do these things we have three, we call it win-win-win, so three types of win. We try to empower people, you, me, as employees, as participants in what the company is trying to do, as collaborators, to understand and track my own well-being and understanding what influences my well-being so I can take the right measures. Second, we empower companies through this aggregated only data, not personal data, as I said before, to succeed by detecting problems early and solving. And this is very important. In the science of burnout, if you feel burned out, it's already too late. These emotional signals, these unconscious emotional signals, allow us to detect upcoming burnout before it becomes a big problem. And this is why we think it's a very important and crucial step as a society. And this is exactly the third win. Economies and societies to grow more responsibly in a human-centered way, because finally we recognize that well-being of employees is a central core role of every company, and we apply the latest science and tech to make it happen. Of course, we understand that people correctly, and very normally, they might have privacy concerns. Now, there are many ways by which we address privacy concern. The most important is, and if you have any of you have involved in any emotional detection research in your life, you know that we do not collect actual images from your computer or actual words that you say. We collect zeros and ones. What you actually see in your laptop or what you actually say in a conversation stays local in your laptop. It never leaves it. So we as the researchers and the company never knows exactly and shouldn't know exactly what is happening at that moment. You are the only one that knows what you were looking at that moment. We can only tell you what did we detect through your eyes or face or voice emotional signals we get. And of course, there are many other steps, both technical and methodological, to secure your privacy. Now we have a fantastic team. As I said, I'm a co-founder and the chief vision officer. We have neuroscientist Jason Paratiharo. He's the head of emotional R&D. We have Dimitra, which is a project manager and a digital marketeer. We have a data analyst. Our CEO, Laurent van der Hout, he's very experienced in launching tech projects and growing them. Okay, so we're very happy with the team. Of course, the team is expanded by external partners of ours. And this is what I wanted to show you now, part of research, because all this might sound too science fiction, too out there. So look at what you see on the screen. This is your visual pattern when, for example, you're looking at our website. Okay, what we collect is just a black screen and the movement of your eyes. Now, this specific pattern, I will play it again. Okay, this specific pattern of eye tracking indicates anxiety, while this pattern that you see now on the screen indicates mental fatigue or burnout. If I play them again, you will see that the different patterns of how your eyes move are quite separate. The one is slower, it takes more time to focus somewhere, which actually the scientific literature indicates as fatigue, while the previous one is very erratic, is jumping up and down, it stays very little in every point. This is more indicative of anxiety. And it's not only eye tracking, it's emotional facial analysis and voice analysis that actually we combine in order to create your score. I will finish with 2.5 minutes of a video that we created in order to explain our project. And that's actually the last thing I want to show you. And I will be very happy to answer to any questions. So enjoy the 2 minutes video and I will be back for your questions.
Emotional and mental health at work is priority for companies and governments around the world. This is because poor emotional and mental health in companies contribute to decreased employee engagement, higher employee turnover, lower customer satisfaction, and higher health costs. Anxiety, burnout, and depression are now recognized by the World Health Organization as important threats to all people at workplaces globally. Workplace stress alone is costing companies in Europe and the United States $300 billion annually. At the end, companies lose customers, profits, and talent because of poor well-being at work. And the situation has gotten worse because of the latest pandemic. Studies show that employees are 3 times more likely to report lower mental and emotional health. And widespread teleworking, especially from home, has created new conditions for anxiety and burnout, like the so-called Zoom fatigue. Over 2/3 of those working from home report increased burnout symptoms. The evidence showed that companies' efforts to cope with this challenge have been insufficient. The time for a new solution is now. A new, fresh approach is needed. An approach that combines latest AI technology with robust human science to create a people-centric solution for well-being at work. This solution is Wellbeing.ai. Wellbeing.ai is a cutting-edge platform that collects anonymized data real-time while people are working in order to evaluate, manage, and improve well-being in the workplace. By collecting emotional data, mainly through the workstation's webcam and microphone, and by applying rigorous scientific algorithms, Wellbeing.ai is able to provide personal, team, and organization-wide scores that help people in companies co-create better well-being programs. With a user-friendly interface, options for customized reporting, and top-of-class big data analytics, Wellbeing.ai is the platform that revolutionizes well-being at work for good. Wellbeing.ai can scientifically identify tasks, meetings, and situations. We aspire to become the leading global solution in scientifically monitoring and improving well-being at work, empowering people to understand and track their well-being better, companies to succeed by detecting problems early and solving them, and economies to grow responsibly and in a human-centric way. The future of well-being is here. Get in touch today.
Okay, so I will stop sharing and just to invite you to the future of well-being, which is actually here. Thank you so much.
Really intriguing from you, Nikolaos. Really some intriguing ideas and certainly things that are waking us up this morning to things certainly that we weren't aware of before. Just one question I'm just going to jump in for because of time we have to keep time and for everyone. So what is the golden rule in your opinion to avoid this difference in perception of workers versus HR in wellbeing programs preparation? Very quickly, what would you say?
Scientific measurement. Unfortunately, Peter, I'm dealing with neuroscience for 15 years, and we know that the measurements that we used to have, like asking you, how you're feeling, and this type of, as they call in psychology, self-reporting measures, are not accurate. They take a lot of time, so you do it periodically, and they confuse because there's subjectivity when I report, and also there's subjectivity when you read it. So we need to remove subjectivity and put objectivity. And we now have, as I said, the science, the tech, and the methodology to actually do it.
Intriguing, very, very intriguing indeed. You're absolutely right. So asking somebody to give their opinion, the answer is kind of flavored with many different other things that influence that answer. But if you just go for the data, for the science, for the clear methods, the true answers of data, then you're closer to the outcome you want. Listen, it's been really intriguing to hear you. Again, everybody who's listening to this, watching this right now, or on playback, whenever that will be. If you want to reach out to Nikolaos, you can do that on LinkedIn, over on the platform as well. But until the next time, Nikolaos, thank you so much. Thank you for your expert ideas. And number one, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Okay, right. We will move on very shortly to our next session, which is all about beating the stress.